Conner Weigman is not fully to blame for what went wrong offensively against Notre Dame.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by Ultimate GM. Ultimate College Football Head Coach is a brand new mobile game that is completely free, has no ads, and is 100% playable offline. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCFB, all caps, inside the game store to receive a free boost to your program. Begin your coaching legacy today. So yesterday's episode of Locked On Aggies, we talked about the game against Notre Dame. We talked about the play of Conner Weigman. And I am not defending the way Conner Weigman played. He did not have a good game, but I wanted to dive deeper into some of the other positions on offense today and what went wrong. First of all, I thought the receivers were not open. And I watched that again. You know, when I recorded the post-game show on Sunday, I rewatched 3/4 of the game. You know, I rewatched it a second time yesterday, or so a third. So I'm third time watching game, and my concern, and we're going to talk about offensive line play and running back play and receiver play, but the receivers not being open was a concern for me. So you can be worried about Conner Weigman. I mean, once again, there is no possible way to defend the way he played in that football game. He did not have a good game. What I am going to say is I don't think he got a ton of help. And I think every time I rewatch this game, that's what kind of clears up for me. I also want to, speaking of clear up, I want to clear a few things up about yesterday's episode. I had a lot of, I want to reiterate one more time what I was kind of arguing yesterday. Was not saying, I was saying I've 50-50. People are saying bench Conner now. Some are saying, let's see what happens. I was kind of, explaining both sides of that. But my stance on this is, it's a shorter leash now. Let him go against McNeese, then let him go against Florida. And if he plays really bad against Florida and you lose, I think that's when you pull the trigger and make a move. And that's just the reality. There's no time to mess around. There's no time to keep losing football games and keep playing poorly. If someone's not performing, they shouldn't be in the game. I don't care if they're supposed to be a top 30 pick. I don't care. It's just the reality here. So that's my opinion on is the leash needs to shorten up. I'm not saying right now pull them, but the receivers, once again, I don't think helped Conner Weigman out a lot. I mean, they were not open a lot. I thought Janae Walker was able to get open some, but once again, I mean, a lot of his receptions were kind of easier throws, little dink and dunk stuff. I mean, that's why he was 6 receptions for 31 yards. I still feel good about this room. And once again, I want to keep reiterating this. I am now fully bought in. And speaking about every time I rewatch this game, every time I rewatch this game, I just say to myself, man, Notre Dame might have the best defense in college football. I mean, that is an incredible, incredible defense. I've seen some people comment and say the Aggies are going to play a handful of better defenses this season. No, they're not. No, they're not. That is the best defense Texas A&M can play all year. And I think moving forward, we're going to find out quickly, was it all Notre Dame's defense? Was it all poor offensive play from Texas A&M? Because once again, the Aggies did not play well. Teams can play poorly. These things happen. Good football teams can play poorly. We don't know if this is a good offense or not yet. We don't know if it's a bad offense or not yet. I think you need to see, I'll be honest with you, I think the Florida game is going to be very, very telling. The one thing I'm going to try and not do is if this offense looks elite against McNeese, got to remember it's McNeese. We all do that a little bit. We have to remember that and then see what happens against Florida. If Texas A&M's offense looks better against Florida, I'll feel better about it. Now, Florida also got stomped by Miami. So I don't think Florida's great, but it's on the road. And it's on the road, and then it's going to be a game. It's still their fans might be bought in for a couple more games before the wheels, I think, fall off that thing. But I just look at this Texas A&M offense, and I'm concerned. I'm panicking, but I'm not hitting the panic button yet. So the receivers got to be open. I think the running game, I think I think the offensive line and the running backs have to be better. I think that Le'Veon Moss and all the other running backs all individually did a few things well. There were a few solid runs and a few holes they missed. But in all honesty, there weren't a ton of holes to go around when it came to this offensive line creating space. And the offensive line, one thing I want to say is the offensive line was not great, but it wasn't awful. I think against that defensive front and against this defense in general, you take that all game long from this offensive line. They gave you a chance, is what I'm saying. Could they have been better? Of course they could have been better. They could have been a lot better. But they gave you a chance, and that's kind of, I think, all you could really ask for from this offensive line against this good of a defense. Yeah, they gave you a chance. And I think that moving forward, I feel pretty good about this offensive line. I mean, I really do think that's one of the best fronts. I don't think you face a better front than that on this defense. So, I mean, for this offensive line. So, to me, that means that if they were able to hold their own in this game, they weren't great, but they held their own, they can be better against not as good defensive fronts. I also think the takeaway here is Texas A&M fans, we need to all realize, and I talked about this for a second yesterday, the season is not over. I think Notre Dame is a very good football team. I think your chance at winning 9 football games with how this offense looked is definitely now far in the distance. But 8 wins is still very much on the table. And a chance that if you figure things out, hit your stride, a couple things going right, 9 is not off the table. I think it'd be very, 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 very difficult to obtain, but it's not off the table. Now, also, this offense could just flat out not be good. So we need to see that first. I can sit here and talk about the season's not over, and it's not. But if this offense isn't good, I know how good the defense is. I know they're going to keep the Aggies or the offense in games, but your offense still has to show up. So this McNeese game needs to be a confidence booster for the offensive line, for Conner Weigman, for these receivers. Need to build confidence. You need to take that confidence into the Florida game. You need to win that game and look good on the offensive side of the ball. And then once you have stacked back-to-back solid games, you need to move forward and keep going. I think that is the way to go here. That is what needs to happen. Receivers got to get open. Noah Thomas only, going 1 for 10 in this game, really, or yards, really is frustrating to me. I didn't think he was going to have 100 yards, but I thought he might have 3 or 4 or 5 catches for 60 or 70 and a touchdown. Part to blame is Conner Weigman. Part to blame is him not being open. So what I wanted to reiterate is this football game, and everybody knows this, but this football game did not fall on one person. Conner Weigman played the worst game I've ever seen him play. There's no debate. There's no question. But this game does not all fall on his shoulders. People could have been better, and it could have helped him be better. So it's okay to be frustrated with the way he played, but you have to remember this is a team sport, and this offense in general did not play well, and they need to gain some confidence. I said confidence. I'm just ready for the NFL. need to gain some confidence against McNeese, and that confidence needs to carry over against Florida. And then if you stack back-to-back good games, you have got to run with it. I think the PFF grades tell a lot of the story in this football game. We're going to talk about that coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. Hey, Locked On Aggies fans. I want to take a moment to give you a heads up on a brand new mobile game that I think you are going to love as much as I do. Ultimate College Football HC. In this amazing game and simulation, you get to step into the shoes of a head coach and lead your college football program to glory. Can you imagine actually being the head coach of the Aggies? From recruiting players and hiring coaching staff to overseeing training camps, and it's all in your hands. Will you be able to handle the pressure? And here's what I really love about the game. You are responsible for calling offensive plays during the games. Your strategy will not only determine the success of your football season, but will shape the future and legacy of your program. Ultimate College Football HC is completely free, has no ads, and is 100% playable offline. You can play on the go as you want and when you want to. And of course, we have a special offer for you Locked On Aggies fans. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCFB, all caps, inside the game store to receive a free boost to your program. Make sure to take advantage of this perk as it will get your team off to a strong start. To download the game, just visit ultimate-cfb.com, ultimate-cfb.com, or look it up in the App Store. Ultimate College Football HC, begin your coaching legacy today. So breaking down these PFF grades, there's a few things that I think tell the story. And the first of those things to me is the players that were supposed to play well. Nick Scorton, 76th grade. Scooby Williams in 52 snaps, 74 grade. Cassius Howell, a 70 defensive grade. Shamar Stewart, a 70 grade. Ryland Kennedy, a 67 grade. Shamar Turner's grade being a 65 was a little bit surprising to me. I thought he played a little bit better than that. But beside the point. So we're going to talk about how this tells the story on both sides of the ball. The first story that the PFF grades tell when it comes to defense is what it has listed for missed tackles. According to this, and I've seen a different number. I've seen 16 elsewhere. PFF, sometimes their metrics are a little different because they judge things differently. But PFF has down for 18. Is it 18? Yeah, 18 missed tackles, which is that can't happen. We saw some missed tackles. We saw some bad angles on that. Some of the long runs, especially the long touchdown run to Price. And that stuff makes the difference. That stuff will lose you football games. This team last year, obviously, was a different defense, a different team, really top to bottom. But this Texas A&M team had the same struggle last season. They struggled to wrap up. They struggled bringing down ball carriers. And you've got to figure this out. I mean, you have got to dial this in. If you can't wrap up, it is going to lead to long runs. It is going to lead to running games, receivers gaining confidence. If in their head they're going, man, these guys can't even tackle me. It helps. Confidence is a real thing. I talk about it a lot, but it is a real thing. And if you can't tackle, it's going to be really hard for a team to be confident. And I mean, for you to be confident tackling, and the other team to not be confident because they're going to be feeling good. So defensively, I think you have got to be better tackling. I was very happy that this defense played. They were incredible in the first half. In the second half, I just think the poor offensive play got to them. I think they ran out of gas, and that's going to happen. Your offense has to be able to sustain drives. But, I mean, top to bottom, I really do believe that this this defense is going to be able to figure out the tackling. I'm not super concerned about it. I think it's a good defense. I think these things happen. I think you have fluky games. I don't believe this will end up being a trend for this football team when it comes to missing tackles. Now, on the other hand, you got to get it figured out soon. I do not want to look at the PFF grades after next week and see that you still missed 14 tackles against McNeese. Then we're going to have a serious conversation and problem on our hands. One of the bright spots here for me really was Ryland Kennedy. I mean, in how many snaps did he end up playing? Ryland Kennedy played 15 snaps. He had a 67.7 grade. 60.2 run grade, 67 pass rush grade. But what I loved about it is he made things happen in those snaps. He had 2 tackles. He had a quarterback hit. He had a hurry. I mean, he made things happen in those snaps. And hopefully that'll lead to some more snaps going forward. I like it when players get snaps and make things happen. That is exactly what Ryland Kennedy did. He's a player we talked about in the offseason, being a breakout candidate, being a guy who you could see play well, being a guy who you could see take it to the next level. And that's exactly what happened here. So I was happy with seeing the way he played. And then, Nick Scorton, once again, was really solid in this game, and I was happy with that. Now, offensively, your best offensive grade being a 69.5, I think really tells the story. And then the next grade after that is a 62.7. That really, really tells the story. The offensive line, once again, the whole offense graded out poorly. Le'Veon Moss is 62. Colley in 50 snaps had a 69.5. He was the best graded player. Armaj Reed Adams got a 62.7. And then where was Trey Zune on here? Was he way down here? Yeah, Trey Zune was a 53. That was pretty rough. Then where's the rest? Crown Over was a 56.2. Basantis was a 48.5. I mean, the grades weren't great. You had a couple solid offensive line grades and a couple poor ones. Then you look at Noah Thomas was graded at a 54. That's not going to work. It's just the point of the PFF grades to me is it exemplifies what we talked about. I mean, these guys, these players, these offensive players, defensive players, you got to see better play. I think on offense, this tells me, I love seeing Colley and Armaj Reed Adams had solid grades. Le'Veon Moss had a 62. I was a little surprised by that. Amari Daniels had a 61. Where was E.J. Smith? He had a 59. What did they not like about him? Pass protection in the passing game, he had a 57. But I think looking at this, my immediate thought is the offense. It exemplifies what we've been talking about yesterday. What we're talking about today is this offense has to be better. This is one of the poorest PFF grades I've seen offensively from a team. I mean, what was the overall offensive grade? I'm not seeing that number, but point is, I got rid of it. Point is, that's a problem. And PFF grades are not the end all be all. I do like them. I think that they are a solid tool to get some extra stats and see how people really played. And I appreciate all that about PFF, but it doesn't tell the whole. It doesn't tell the whole story. But in this grade, I think it tells a lot of the story. And I definitely look at this football team after this week, and I go, yeah, the holes that we saw, I think PFF really explains, yes, you've got to figure this out. So it's going to be interesting to see how this team plays next week. I think the point here to me is it's pretty simple. You have to respond. I think that that's all you can really do here is you played bad, respond. If you respond and you play solid against McNeese in Florida and you're 2-1, we're back on pace. If you end up going on a run and winning some games, we're not going to be as worried about this ugly loss. Ugly loss to Notre Dame. And I mean, once again, you didn't get blown out. It was a tight game through and through. They pulled away kind of there at the tail end, but Notre Dame was a better football team. But I think that you played your worst. And Notre Dame did not play well themselves, but I think Texas A&M played just about the worst game they could have played. I think if they play well, they can hang in these football games against really good teams, and your defense can keep you in. And maybe if your offense plays better, you can steal one. And that's what we talked about. You have those 4 home games. If you can steal one, that's when overachieving is possible. So just got to bounce back next week. I want to talk about some things Conner Weigman had to say yesterday, because it shows you how great of a leader he is and gives me a lot more confidence in his ability to bounce back. We'll talk about that coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But we got to talk about our wonderful friends over at 5 Hour Energy. For me, the best time to have a 5 Hour Energy is right after lunch, because that's when we always feel like, oh man, are we going to get through this day? You're not alone if you feel that way. Research shows that 70% of us hit the wall after lunch. You're going to want to let 5 Hour Energy help you leap over that wall instead of crashing into it. With 0 sugar and a convenient portable size, it's the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. The 5 Hour Energy website has flavors galore like watermelon, tropical burst, grape, berry, and more. There's a flavor for everybody, and you want to try them all. On the site, you even have options to build your own 12-pack or 24-pack. You can choose the flavors, and it is delivered right to your front door. I love that you can mix and match flavors. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that's number 5, hourenergy.com, and get some 5 Hour Energy product today, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. This order is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Go to 5, number 5, hourenergy.com today. So I want to go see if I can find this quote, and if not, I know what he said. It was more of a talking point. But Conner Weigman played, once again, one of the worst football games he could have played. He did. And knowing how good I think we all thought it was going to be, y'all know how good I thought he was going to be. It was painful. It was frustrating. Leaders can respond in one of a few ways. They can, people can respond in life, whether it's athletics, whether it's life. You can respond in one of a few ways. You can lay down and die, or you can get back up. You can own what happened, and you can be better, and you can keep working your behind off. And Conner Weigman, as I would have expected, as we all would have expected, chose the right path on that. He goes and he says, point blank, period, I have to be better. There's no excuses for how I played. Yes, Conner, you didn't play well. You didn't. But you can turn this thing around. That's the point. Owning it and being better, not making an excuse. If he'd gone out there and he's been like, well, the defense was really good and, we weren't executing. No, there's no we. There was no we. I. Point blank, period. I need to play better. I love that. I love what Conner Weigman had to say. I had already a ton of respect for Conner Weigman, but I gained a lot of respect for him going to that press conference after the way he played and owning up to it, talking about how he needs to be better. Man, I just love and respect that so much from him. It's hard. Especially, my athletic career, I pitched in college, and for me, when you're a pitcher, if you mess up a lot, it's really on you. It's a team game, but it's on you, and you have to own that a lot. You have to own losses a lot for your teammates, and own the way you play. So it's something I understand, and it's hard. It's hard to be able to go up there and face the music and own. Kind of, man, this one really isn't. It's not fully on me, but I'm gonna say it is, because my team deserves that. And Conner Weigman, I just have so much respect for him as a leader to go up there and say I gotta be better. I'm gonna be better. That gave me confidence that he is going to turn this thing around, because players who play the game the right way, who lead a team the right way, good things happen for them, and that's exactly what Conner Weigman did. I believe he's going to figure it out, but he's got to do it sooner or later because I do believe the leash is shortening when it comes to the play. If he doesn't play well against Florida, we could have an issue. So I believe in Conner. I believe in him bouncing back, but he's got to do it sooner than later. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Aggies. Thank you all so much for being here every single day. Really, really appreciate it. Hope everyone has an outstanding rest of their day today. And we'll see you tomorrow right here on Locked On Aggies.